We have long ago realized that the media here, Sime, we're just the stage. You're creating the play. What happens here in corridors, inside panels, and in the meeting over lunch, it's the most important thing. And I just got the statistics. There's been 108,000 swipes where you're checking out each other since yesterday. 8 meetings have been booked with people that are matches with each other, which is an insane amount of people hooking up with each other. I don't know if you have had time to meet yet, but 2008 people have matched each other. And that's also the topic for the next speech. Going from media and thinking, oh, this is the media and it will solve my problems, to actually understanding much more about the audience and the future of how to communicate with that audience. So we're inviting a serial entrepreneur, an intrapreneur, and one of the coolest tech guys has been in the forefront of what's been happening in Denmark, Nordics, and beyond for a long time. It's with a warm welcome to Jacob Lachmann from Audience Project.
Hello, thank you. And thank you, Ola, for those nice words. Hi, my name is Jacob Lachmann, and I've spent around 20 years in the online media industry. Yes, it means I am old. And what I am going to talk to you about today is the rapid change we are seeing from media to audiences. And what that really means is that the buying patterns and the way that the medias are orchestrated today is moving away from just buying that front page on Aftenbladet or on Expressen to actually just buying an audience, saying, I want women, I want them between 25 and 40, and that's not personal, it's an example. Yeah, so let me take a step back. My wife is a bit older than that, and I really like her. We live in an era of data. Data is the underlying part of everything we do these days. Every time you do something, when you go shopping, what you put in your shopping cart is registered on data. When you drive in your car, Google knows where you are because you have your phone and your wallet. Everything is data, and you probably heard this 100 times now. But why is that interesting? It's interesting because data elevates understanding and it enables optimization, and optimization is what it's all about these days. This is what I believe in. I believe in, for the media industry, that all media will be bought and traded on a digital basis. And we're not so far away from that. It's going to happen in the next couple of years that we will have addressable TV, which means that we can buy TV based on data in the same way as we're buying digital advertising today. It means that the outdoor will be part of it, radio will be part of it, print will be traded programmatically based on data as well. And what this means also is it means that data will start flowing a little bit more. It needs to start flowing more. It can't stay in all the silos. But this is actually, however, the state of the nation today. Sad as it is, most brands have their data in silos. And that data that they've collected in their silos, they've collected those in various different departments, so they don't sit under the same roof in the business. They have them in various different formats, which means that you can't just add them together and use them in one big pile. They're collected with various different permissions, which means that you can't even use them in the same way because you didn't collect that permission from the user in the first place. This is prohibiting the optimal use of data. Data equals dollars, but to get to those dollars, you need to be able to activate your data. That is the main message here today, along with a couple of other things, but activation of your data. If you have lots of data today, you probably heard the stats, and that's even 2013 stats, that 90% of all data ever created by man was created in the last 2 years, which means that was from 2011 to 2013. I can only imagine that now it's probably 90% was created within the last year, something like that. But also stats says that less than or more than 99.5% of all data is never analyzed and used. That's pretty interesting stats. But activation is key. So what you really need to do as a company today is you need to build an audience ecosystem around your company. And it doesn't matter if you're a media company or whichever type of company you are, you need that data or audience ecosystem to be able to basically apply your data seamlessly to make the task that you want that data to perform for you. let me show you some numbers. I'm going to bring you some numbers from, I'm going to throw some numbers at you. 90% is a very interesting number for if you're in e-commerce. How many in here are in e-commerce? Oh, there's a couple. Okay, so listen here. 90% is interesting because 90% is on average the number of unrecognized visitors to an e-commerce shop. It means that you have paid dearly, worked night and day to try to drive some traffic to your shop. But when they arrive there, 9 out of 10 is met with an unpersonalized page. Of course, that means lower conversion. What if you could have some data on the other 90%? Maybe not data because they've been to your shop before, so you don't know what they're interested in, but maybe if you knew they were men, women, which education level, if they had children, household, all the stuff like that would make it much more interesting for your users' arrival to your page. If you're selling clothes, the easiest example, women arrive, yes, you know it's a woman, again, 25 to 40, you show her the women's collection. And maybe, if you also know that there's children in the household, maybe you show some offers on baby clothing. Sounds very easy, is very hard. So let's look at some of the winners and numbers in the e-commerce ecosystem. Amazon is a big guy in this system. Amazon and Apple together had more than $65 billion of growth last year. That's quite a lot. If you look into other types of companies, more old-style companies or traditional companies, companies like Walmart, Toyota, BMW, IKEA, LMVH, Kroger, and Nike together don't even have the same growth as Apple and Amazon have together. So Amazon is probably the king of all e-commerce, you could say. To give you an idea of the fragmentation and of how they work and how complex it is, you can compare a little bit with Walmart. Walmart has a quite big web shop as well, and it's a big e-tailer in the US. Walmart recalculates their prices 54 times a week. It means that based on your user patterns, how many times you've been in there, what you've been looking at, you're getting various different offers, and it changes the prices. If you look to Amazon, on the other hand, the fragmentation is enormous. They do 2.5 million recalculations per day versus the 54,000 per week. And that gives a picture of how much more advanced Amazon is than other e-tailers. And you need to be advanced. You need to have your data available and you need to have them actionable. Let's look at the media business. On the media business side, one of the things that is the most common way of using data is applying data to your media buying. In my daily job as a CEO of Audience Project, we track campaigns. We've tracked more than 20,000 campaigns in the Nordics. And what we more often than not see is a massive increase in the precision of the campaign. So there are many cases where it's more than 100%. It means that more than twice the amount of impressions bought ends up with the intended target group. That's a pretty good optimization, I think, from using data. All right. Another number is 98. And 98% is an example of how you can actually activate data that you would think might be dead, that is not digital, is not operational in an online media environment. So if you are a telco company, you have heaps of client data in your CRM databases. You know exactly which clients left you, which clients have which subscriptions, which tells a lot about them. So if you could just enable that data online, you would be able to create campaigns where you could make a very, very, creative and effective way of contacting your users. So in this example, it's taking the CRM data, combining that with a cookie panel, and reaching out to people before contacting them. So 98% was the increased conversion on telemarketing leads. I don't know if any of you are working in a company where you have telemarketing leads, but if you hear those numbers and you work with this today, you will be dropping off your chair right now. This is where we basically optimize all the digital work and only bring in the people when half of the work is already done. So we have contacted people 6-7 times with messages online based on their relation to the company before we call them up, and that brings the conversion up. So that's another case. Okay, so the winners and the big guys in our territory, the media territory, is probably not a surprise. It's the Googles and the Facebooks. What is a surprise, maybe if you're not in the media business, is how big the growth is for Facebook and Google. And actually, Google's and Facebook's growth is so big that it's not only tapping in and taking a share away from other media companies, it's also taking share away from traditional companies. We're going to look at that in a minute, but just look at these stats. So Google grew 22% last year. In the first half of 2016, to be very precise. They had 60% of all the growth in online media in US in the first half year. And Facebook grew 67%. I think the US term would be a staggering 67%. That's massive. And they're taking 43% of the share of the market growth. And then if you're really quick, you think, okay, there's something wrong with the math, because one is taking 60 and one is taking 43. That's more than 100. And yes, it's more than 100. It means that all the other companies together, they're decreasing. That's how big it is. Okay, so what are the traits of these winning companies? So basically, there are three different areas where they are really good. In profiling, so we know that Facebook is more or less our day's phone book. Everyone above 13 and probably a number of people below 13 as well have a listing at Facebook somehow. Maybe you don't use it that much, but you have it. And you can be found in there. You can meet your grandparents or whatever you want in there. But what is really interesting is their ability to activate it. When you're buying campaigns on Facebook, you cannot buy a campaign without data. If you look at a local publisher and see the number of campaigns that they are selling with data, I would probably bet my children and house and everything on that it's less than 0.5% where data is added. That's a difference in competition, you can say. One of the other things they're really good at is frequency control. So they have the ability to say that this profile is connected to this device, a mobile, this desktop, this TV, and other things, which means that you can do a true frequency, which means that you know exactly who you're talking to, no matter the device. And that's a really strong thing as well. And the last thing which is important is the reach. You need a lot of reach. And what Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google, all of them have in common is they have massive reach, and they have profiling, they have ability to activate their data, and they can move around with the cross-device frequency control. And that is something, and they have it in one silo, basically, in one ecosystem. Massive competitive advantages. Okay, so what is happening outside these silos? Because this is something that is pushing not only the media industry, it's pushing non-internet companies as well. So in one sentence, non-internet companies knows this, and they are buying companies within ad tech because they want to be able to apply the data they have in their various silos to a media buying or to a contact to a real person. And there's a number of examples of this. There's Verizon, bought AOL. Now they're in the middle of buying Yahoo as well. And this is an effort to try to put in a third leg in this competition. So this is basically the best constellation up until a couple of months ago to try to make a competitor to Google and Facebook. And the media buying industry is heavily supporting this. Walmart is investing as well. And what I found is very interesting is the AT&T Time Warner, because that is a real serious bet. Verizon buying AOL, $4.4 billion. It's a big number. Yahoo, they're buying bits of Yahoo for around $5 billion. But AT&T is buying Time Warner for $85 billion. And that is a massive investment they're going into there. And the reason why these companies are doing it, and there's quite a lot more, this is just the one I could find, is that they want to be able to activate their data, they want to connect to users, they want to apply their content in there. And I can see that now my time is blinking. So I think the last thing I want to do is I'd like to show you a video from a guy called Steve Galloway, who is professor at NYU, and he has a bit of comments to this. Can we play the video?
The reason Time Warner continues to trade at a substantial discount to the stated acquisition price is the belief that the FTC may block this deal. That would be crazy. They are not each other's competition. AT&T's competition is Facebook, and Facebook is kicking its ass. This continues the crazy gestalt we have in our society where regulators and lawmakers want to hang out with the hot girl and allow Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Apple a totally different set of standards in terms of tax avoidance and regulation. Old economy firms and the people they employ need all the help they can get. Blocking this deal, stupid.
So, thank you very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.